Hi, I'm BJ Rourke and welcome to Dance Talk. Today we are talking about our role as dance teachers and mentors, and I'm so excited to have on three amazing guests. We've got Seymour, Cameron Mitchell and Glenda Yee, and between them just outstanding, amazing achievements and kind of knowledge and wisdom, and I'm so thankful for you guys jumping on with me today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good topic.
Interesting topic.
Very interesting topic, yeah.
And it's I think like you were saying before we started rolling, it's something that evolves and changes, I guess, with your career.
With your career, with your experience, with the people that come into your kind of environment, with what's going on in the world. The economics is a huge factor in change. So, yeah, it's an opinion that that can keep changing.
It so does. Like I think reflection is everything, especially when you get older, as we were talking about previously before we went live, that you look back and you the way that you were as a teacher or any educator when you started at 19, whatever, as you go through and you've learned so much more, and there's so much more to, I remember when I used to teach when I was starting out, an hour felt like a day, and now 2 hours feels like a minute, because there's so much more that you want to teach. I find that I get more passionate about it as I get older because I've had my career, changes, and
that's actually the thing. Like, you've still got your career. Yeah. When you've had your career, I feel like it can make you see a truth more when you're not personally involved, invested in it. Particularly, I guess, for me, walking away from a studio that I ran for 32 years that's still going now. Yeah. The way that I was in the last 10 years was completely different to the way that I was in the first 10 years. And now that I've stepped away, I can look at it all and go, if I ran a school now, it would be totally different to the one that was considered a fairly successful school.
Absolutely.
But I believe it could be much better from my knowledge and my experience. And what
are some of the things you would do differently today?
Well, I guess the first thing I should say is what I feel is a problem today, and that is that I don't believe that there's enough teamwork, enough community spirit in kids anymore.
Yeah.
When I first started, for the first 10, 15 to 20 years, I felt that the kids were more invested in what the dance studio world was, and in my studio, and in each other. There was a real sense of camaraderie, teamwork. The biggest event of the year was like the City of Sydney Eisteddfod, but everyone in the class, it didn't matter what the age group, they worked together and they felt invested in the process of what we were doing, because that was the big thing. But today, that competition is secondary to the competition that the kids are feeling inside themselves as individuals. So if they go to a class now, well, first of all, they used to just go to your school and no other school.
Yeah.
And it's not because they weren't allowed to, they just didn't. Yeah. But now they're going everywhere, and they feel that they have a right to take everything from everybody. Yeah. But when they go and do all the workshops, they're there not even so much, I don't think anymore, just to learn great choreography, but it's to see, will I get in the Instagram video at the end of class?
Exactly.
Will I, how many more followers has that person got than what I have? Will I be chosen for the special group at the end of the class? So there's this competition all the time within themselves.
And the pressure.
And that actually brings loneliness, I think, because the best dancer is not always the one who is the happiest or the most employable, right? But they've got this inner drive to be the best. Today. But it's such a fleeting thing. But it's fleeting, right?
Because I think that, we can't, this is what we talk about, social media. It's never going away. No. So we're fighting against that, and our voices need to be louder, and we have to try and instill these in these kids and it's up to the studio owners and the teachers to do this. The children need to. It used to be a progression. You started in this age group. If you started young, let's say most kids start at like 4 and 5, they get put in dancing, and they learn these sorts of things. And it was Polly Wolly Doodle all the day, and Animal Crackers, and baby ballet and stuff like that. Then you moved to the next age group and you got to do more of a modern jazz, and then you worked your way up to get to the seniors, and everybody looked up to the seniors, and when I get to that, I'll be able to do that.
I can do that.
And then if I've decided I want to be a dancer, then I go possibly onto full-time, or I go and do classes of a renowned choreographer, because back in those days, you earned your place as an open class teacher from your career. You didn't hire a studio and put on the class yourself at the age of 7, and everybody, because of your social media output, comes to the class, and then you would get to that, and then you get known by the choreographer, and then hopefully you'd get hired by that choreographer, and then from there you would work your way in different fields, and then if your career had got to a certain place, then you became the choreographer, and then you put on your class. So it was a trajectory that went, if I work really hard and listen to the people and follow who's above me, who came before, I will become that. Now it is, tomorrow I want to be that. Because they have it in front of them. So even if they're not at that class, they're watching and they're learning that, and so they think they know more than the people that they go to dancing for. It's like I say sometimes, that old adage, the lunatics running the asylum, because they're like, no, we want to do that, but wait a minute, this is my school, and I will. It's just like anyway,
I think as well,
progression's gone.
They're not even looking past that next step. There's no visual. They don't know how to. Their teachers aren't making them look up to their teachers and then their teachers, and they're not knowing who the choreographers who are really hiring are. They're only knowing the teachers who are doing those open classes. They're only knowing what's right in front of them and what's their kind of next stage in their career, and they kind of don't know what's after that. And I think that also starts with teachers and studio owners.
I think as a teacher, as a young teacher, I'm only 28, so I did start teaching at the age of like 16, just teaching little ones, and then went up and up. And even I was on my way here thinking, what is my role as a teacher at my age? And it's changed from even like 2 years ago, because I always thought I had to teach what was wanted, or I always had to teach what was cool at the time. So I always had this feeling of like, I've got to create the boom chicka ta, like get all these beats, and I just couldn't hear music like that. I had to teach myself to do that. But now I go in and I know that. And I have to admit to the students, because I know they expect like the hardest choreography that they're going to get, but I have to admit, this isn't the hardest choreo you'll get, but it's how you do it rather than...
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's not like,
oh my gosh,
everyone can do all this really, really hard choreography. Because that's what's shown on Instagram, and that's what's cool, that's what's getting the likes, and that's what's
but it's
popular.
not going to get the job.
It's not going to get the job, and it's not going to teach you how to do the easy stuff. Like just last week, BJ and I were teaching at Next Gen, and we taught them the finale, and it was really quite simple, because there's juniors, there's inters, and there's seniors, and they were struggling to pick it up, and it was like a very like high energy, and it just brought to the top of the mind like, this is the easy stuff that like creates a non-dancer crowd standing up on their feet and like get going.
It's the foundation. It's that whole thing about you can't put the roof up unless you started from the foundation and then built the house. The roof comes last. And it's like that with the dancer. And I think it's even more important now for these teachers and studio owners to instill this and to fight against that. I want to, for a better way of putting it, so many kids come to us and say, I want to be Michael Demesky. And Michael Demesky started as a little boy at Glenda School, and then eventually came to Brent Street, and then, he did every single style of dance and made sure he was the best at every single style of dance. So he had to be the best tapper, the best ballet, the best singer, the best... But they don't see that. They only see him doing his stuff on World of Dance and in the style of lyrical jazz, which you could do a whole podcast on the threat of lyrical jazz on our society. But and they think, I'm going to do that step and I'm going to do that step. Well, you can't do that step because you haven't done all this to be able to do that. You can't just train yourself to do those tricks. You have to have all the other stuff.
Well, the thing is, though, they are. So they're learning how to execute something really challenging, and they're focusing just doing that on the right leg, and they perfect it, and they haven't got any of that base, like you're saying. So what happens is when they actually go into the audition, they're not asked to do that trick. They're asked to do something more basic, or something on the left, or something they've never seen before or never perfected, and they're like, oh, but I can do a turning Russian. It's like, but that's not what you're being asked to do.
Most professional jobs, you'll never even be asked to do a double turn.
Or even a single turn.
You won't.
All that stuff, and it's frightening, isn't it? What's more frightening when it comes to that? We keep jumping around topics, but ballet, the ballet training that we all, for hundreds of years, everybody started with the plie, and then we went to a tendu, to a glissé, to a grand battement. Now the kids are just going through those motions, and then they do these other classes that they call conditioning classes, which are taking all of that tradition and throwing it out the window and telling kids to lift their hip up to get that leg higher. And if you watch from the back, as most kids come down the room now, their feet are sickled.
Totally.
They do not turn out from the hip. They don't even know what their hips feel like. They're so locked, and it's because they're jumping ahead. And I say it's starting really, really young. As I said before, animal crackers and on the good ship lollipop. We can't do that because it's not cool. It's important to give them the everything, and then sorry.
I actually feel really, really sorry for studio owners and for owners more than teachers, because they're under the threat of trying to have a successful business, pay the bills, afford the teachers that charge a lot of money to come in. So they've got to please the kids. But they're not doing them,
any favours.
No, not really. But they're really under a lot of pressure.
It's because the business model now has become in a lot of industries an Instagram follower situation. So the more Instagram followers, the more people are getting paid. So the more Instagram followers, the more the kids want them to come to teach for them. And that was that thing I was saying before about the lunatics running the asylum, is because, and the teachers are feeling pressure, like, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose the business. But then in the long term, these kids aren't going to go on and have careers, so your studio suffers then, because you're not actually delivering professional working dancers from your school. You're delivering competition dancers, and once the competitions are over, there's silence. So
and they're worried really hard. What if my business doesn't even last that long? So they're focusing on right now. But I guess how do we convince studio owners, to let go of that pressure and focus on giving them quality? Don't worry about if you win the comp or not. Don't worry about all of that. That's
we've all got something to say.
Go for it.
I feel like teachers need to focus more on the process rather than on the end product. So I know that, you need to get the jazz routine, the senior jazz routine. It's got to be the killer. It's got to be the winner. You've only got 9 lessons to 1 hour to do it. So therefore, what happens is the teacher's like, right, I've got the great idea. I've got the great music. This is what we're doing. We go in, guys, we've only got, 9 hours to do this. No time on the weekends. So, right, okay, this is what we're doing. Lauren, you're the centre front girl. Cam, I'm putting this girl with you and the other boy there. Right, so that's the partner work. Sorry, guys, all of you, you're not in that. Go sit outside for 30 minutes while we do this. And I feel like it needs to go back to just basic communication and thinking, everyone in that class, whether they're going to be in the routine for half of it, in the back line, in the front line, whatever, that they all need to feel valued in contributing to whatever it is that you're doing. Thing.
It's going right back to what you said about teamwork. We are a team. But unfortunately, another thing is the same young 20 to 25-year-old choreographers, they call themselves. They have had a career in as a dancer yet, but they're choreographers all of a sudden. They're charging copious amounts of money,
Yeah.
and they're all teaching at all the schools. So no school anymore. Glenda had her teachers and her school, and that you could tell it was them. You go, I knew it was them,
Looks like
and
them.
they were great.
Yeah.
And there was this school and this school and this school, and it was a community, and they every now and
We
again.
actually learnt off each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and you were,
Yeah.
and you know, I've been at Brent Street 26 years now, and even there, it was back in the day. There was a pool of teachers
14.
that you only got if you went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was. For a better word, I'm not saying that was the place necessarily. Well, it was, but there's no elitism anywhere because it's all like molding into one.
Yes.
So where do you, if these kids even now think, how do I get to that? You know, or even back to what Glenda was saying about the routine. These people are coming in, teaching the routine, and then going away.
Yeah.
So not the person isn't
Training
really getting in like a gardener and fixing these kids and taking their
Yeah.
time and watching that one's not that, and taking their time with that kid to get them up. And the kid at the back line has to be just as strong as the kid in the front line because you're only as strong as the kid in the back line.
Totally.
So none of that's going on because the person who's cleaning the routine didn't teach it. So they don't even know
guessing.
what the intention is behind
And
it.
they're moving on to the next routine anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's no time left for cleaning because we've got to get this done now
Yeah.
because now we're moving on. Like, it just slow down.
I think that on the fact that teachers don't stay at the one place, I completely agree with you. I do teach at a few places. However, I know that I can say, and I am not lying, that I have my loyalty.
Well, there's
But
a word.
Loyalty
There's a strong word.
does not.
Yeah.
We don't see that very
I have been at All Stars for 18 years since it opened.
Absolutely.
I've
Everybody knows.
gone and taught
everyone,
everywhere.
yeah.
I've left the country. I moved to London. I came back and I said to Glenda Priscilla, I am always yours. You trained me up. You got me to where I was. You taught me. You threw me in the deep end.
Yeah.
You got me to where I am. I will always be there for your studio. That doesn't exist. Loyalty doesn't exist.
With some people, it does.
Yes, it does.
It's not
It
everyone.
does.
We're not saying everybody.
Yeah,
Everything we
yeah.
say isn't.
Yeah.
There's
it's not.
exceptions. There's always exceptions.
Definitely
Yeah.
there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still have like Daniel Lasseter
Yes.
and Michelle. Like, there's so many that will
Absolutely.
still say,
Yeah.
thank you, Glenda, or
Yeah.
they'll be in a
definitely.
program or whatever. Others don't. But
Yeah.
it is trying to get that
I
loyalty.
think it's something that.
It's important.
Yeah, I don't want to say it doesn't exist. I think it's not something that's looked at as
Important.
important
As important.
in regards to the younger generations.
Yes.
Like
Very
if I was to ask someone a little bit younger than me, who are you loyal to? I think a lot wouldn't be able to give me their answer.
Absolutely.
Because
not.
I think it also is from that, what we were talking about before, is because they consider, like, I'm not saying that there's a lot of studio owners that still try to instill
Yeah.
that, all the values that we're saying, but because they are trying to do that, the pushback from the other kids is, you're holding me back. Because my friend goes to that school and I've watched her do this number on this, and I'm going to go there if you're not going to let me do it.
Yeah.
So there's that going on as well, and these kids are so confused as to but if I do listen to you, then I'm not going to do that, and they're going. So there's a lot of that.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of, I think most kids today feel that they have a right to have a voice. And if they can't speak up for themselves, mum will do it for them. But mum doesn't get the clear picture either. She only gets the, the
One story.
one side of the story. And I think, going back to saying I'd concentrate more on the process and trying to make everyone feel inclusive, even if it's in something like, okay, you're going to be outside for 15 minutes while I work on the girl-boy partner work, but while I'm there, can you Google some costume ideas for me, please? Or I'd love to do another piece of music that fits into this. I'm a bit stuck. Would you mind going on iTunes and just seeing what other... Like, there's things that you
Keeping
can
them
do to make them
involved.
feel involved
Yeah.
and
They're part of it.
inclusive, I keep saying it. And then they're not going to go home and say to mum, I was sitting
Exactly.
outside for 15 minutes
Yeah.
today, don't pay for that class.
Yeah.
You know, then you're not going to get the email.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the sulky faces in the room the next time, the attitude.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I don't know.
I think that's
Is this just my age? You know, like, is it practical to even say this?
No, I think that's a really important
But
part.
mental health is a huge issue in kids today, and I do think it's every teacher's duty of care to kind of try and just make them feel that they're a part of the school, the routine, the class, whatever.
Sometimes it's really great. I've found, happened a couple of times, I don't teach on Saturdays anymore. You know, I'm a bit old enough to have my weekends to recover.
Yeah.
But at Brent Street, they just asked me, could I come in and teach a couple of Saturdays because there was a teacher away or something. And then when we got there, they had another performance on for the kids that go to the high school.
Yeah.
So they were removed from the class, and the kids that didn't go to the high school were there. And what was wonderful is, and I was saying to these kids, isn't this great that we have this time together? And really getting in there with them, and I just watched these faces come to life, and just the real love just coming out of their soul, because they weren't. You're not saying that this is going on without me going there, you know, and I'm not the Gandalf of dance world, but you know, I just watched the light, and I got really choked up, you know, and I messaged Lucas, who owns Brent Street now, on my way home, going, I just had the most amazing day with these kids, because I felt
real connection.
it was just so wonderful, and that's what you're talking about.
I remember, you know, the big deal at GY when I had it was the concert, because we would always do like a theme and a storyline, and everything was integrated. And I remember after our last Eisteddfod in term 3, every year I would go into every class and we'd have like the powwow about the concert this year, and we'd talk about my ideas, what do you think of this, and you're going to be in this routine, and we're going to have this music, and this is going to happen in this prop. And the kids' faces, I reckon that was one of their best classes all year, just because they felt important enough to be let in on the secret of the concert. You know?
Just my brain just went like that, because I think also it's feeling that they're finding a way that they feel like they're learning all the time, because once their brain starts feeling like it's learning, not just someone standing in front of them and teaching them steps that they've made up at home prior to coming in, and then they're going, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you do this.
Cool.
Teaching is about asking them questions and all
Watching
that, which
them.
has started to go, it's not happening a lot anymore, because also some people that are teaching these classes don't have the answers for the questions that the kids ask. Because, not saying that anybody, I started teaching at 19 too, as we said, like
Everyone keeps
as you
learning.
get older, you have more to give,
Yeah.
more answers, more like, this is the reason I'm doing this.
Definitely.
And going back to what you were saying, I call it the keeping up with the Joneses thing, that now I'm older, I don't actually care that I'm not the coolest and not, you know, they're going to like them more than they like me, because I'm, you know, in my
away from
mind,
that.
you know, I just go, I know what I've got to do here. And in my mind as well, I've done it for so long that, you know, I'm here for you to learn from me, and I really want to work with you. And if you don't want to, that's fine. That's fine. That's just, you don't like my class, that's fine. But I know that I'm touching some people, and there's no pressure in my mind that I'm not going to come up with the goods, you know. Whereas when you're younger teaching, there is a lot of that pressure. Like, they're going to like them more than me.
Oh, totally.
And we were all there.
Or
I
if
was
they don't
there.
like this combo.
Yeah.
I think you touched on something else really important there, which is I was trying to think before we started filming of the difference I see from when I first started teaching to now. And I think one of the biggest things is I spend so much more time looking at them and talking to them and asking them questions. And I think when I first started, and I think a lot of young teachers, they look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, is this good? Is this cool?
Do I look good?
And like, do I look good? And it's natural. Like, but that's the thing with the, you know, growing as you get older, and the different eras and the different demographics.
Also, I think what's another thing that's been lost in this new age of everybody teaching an open class, and when I first moved to Sydney, I would do Kelly Abbey's one night, and Jason Coleman's another night, and Roy Dudley's another night, and Alita Northey's another night.
True.
And I would learn from people that I looked up to.
Yeah.
I hope they don't get offence by this, by a bit of quite an age difference.
Yeah.
So my dream was maybe in 10 years I'll be
there.
them. 10 years.
And you did.
Well, luckily I'm lucky I did. But I still look back at that time with such fondness because they had so much knowledge and so much history.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever at that point think I'm going to be them by next year or the year after.
Yeah.
Whereas now I say to a lot of students, who do you look up to the most? And they start talking. I go over the age of 27.
Over 27. Yeah.
And they very struggle. They very struggle. They struggle to come up with a name.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't know.
And
But
I think
that's
it's
your role
really
as a
important.
teacher.
It's so important from a young age. This has to start very young. That they need to get. They need to talk. I went to another state. I'm not going to say which one. And there were about 50 kids.
Yeah.
And I asked the whole class who knew who Gene Kelly was.
No.
2 hands. 2.
I'm actually not surprised.
2 hands.
And that's your role as a teacher. Right? You need to actually send them away to research names. You need to be referencing your teachers and the other people you looked up to so that they can actually be almost forced to go, actually, who is this Gene Kelly? And look them up. They're not going to do that unless you're referencing these people.
It's up to the
providing
teacher to do that, yeah. And
Mm.
also with that Gene Kelly reference, somebody did say to me a little bit, maybe they're in their 20s, they were like, yeah, but that's your era. I said,
Really?
Excuse me?
I said, don't I look amazing? I was born in 1945. How ridiculous, That's not my era.
Yeah.
That was a long time before I was born.
Anyone over 27 is that era. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that when you hire teachers, most owners will go in for the last 10 minutes of the class and have a little look if they haven't got the CTV cameras and they're not looking from their office. But it's so obvious to see the ones that do the best job of teaching by the reaction of the class. So teaching is not just about showing a student how to do steps.
It's providing...
Going back to even what you were saying, like getting the essence of the step out and teaching the showmanship and finding quirky little ways to talk to get your point across to a younger generation. That's what makes a really great teacher.
Definitely.
And I love watching my daughter teach. I love watching Kaylee teach. You've been in the room with her. She's quirky with how she talks, but the way that she gets what she needs out of the Laurens of her age and little kids is remarkable. She would say she has the teaching gene, I would think, but she's a great teacher because she communicates, and it is all coming back to just communication, right? In whatever form it has to be. But that's lost a lot on younger teachers.
I think it also takes caring. If you actually care as a teacher, care factor.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of
if you
teachers...
don't care, the kids don't care.
They don't care.
And a lot of them,
especially with teaching, it's actually, it's called a job. Yes, it is a job, and your job is to teach those children and educate them. It is not called pay the rent. It's called teaching.
It's very very important.
A vocation as opposed to being a job.
I actually like to care. I can have the worst day, but as soon as I step into a class that I'm teaching, everything turns around. And I surprise myself, and my fiance says every time, you always stress yourself out about teaching. You come home and go, oh, that was the best day of my life.
Me too.
I'm like, it's no matter how hard it is, I know that I walk in there and I care about the kids. And it's very hard to come by. I remember teaching a set of full-timers and I overheard one of them saying that he didn't want to go to work. And I kind of just like popped my head and I was like, what do you do for work? It's like, I teach. I'm teaching dancers. I'm guiding them to be in this industry, and they are leaving my class and walking into junior classes and doing that. And my heart just dropped, and I went, this is my place to say, you are wrong.
Yeah.
You need to stop teaching.
Yeah.
You need to, and I said this, and he didn't like it, and we didn't get along for the rest of the year. But
I don't know who it
Which
is.
brings
no, but
point.
I said, don't you ever teach if you don't want to be there. Because
so
you
many
may
people
think
do.
that kid is annoying you, but that kid might have something else going on. So it's your job to teach them how to dance, to take them out of their life, and to make them enjoy that hour.
Or don't do it.
Or don't do it.
Yeah.
It's
Or
a very,
don't
very
do
scary
it.
little thing because there's so many people that don't like their jobs that they do,
Yeah.
but
They're
it
not
doesn't
raising
affect
children.
anybody
Yes.
else. It's not
Yeah.
hurting anybody else.
Yes, but ours does.
Yeah, but the
Ours
other
really
point to
does.
that too is, okay, so they've done dancing for so many years, they're now paying for a full-time course, there's no jobs,
Yeah.
no dance jobs, there's no club shows anymore, there's no shopping centre shows, there's no corporate gigs. Oh, I guess I'm just going to have to teach then.
Well, then that's the other thing is
And that's
that
what I
brings
said
us
to
to this
them.
brand new topic,
Yes.
which is what should we be teaching and what should we be educating them is. It's not, look, maybe 20, 30 years ago, you could just be a jazz dancer and live quite comfortably doing club shows. They go to the Hilton on Friday and a Saturday night, sometimes more than that in certain parts of the year. They were on the midday show with Ray Martin
Yeah.
or Mike Walsh. They would go and do
Australia's Wonderland.
dancing behind the artists. We had a lot more Australian artists back then.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be
Yeah.
dancing
Yeah.
in film clips. They'd be on tour with the artists
Yeah.
and in musical theatre. Like, there was so much work. Now,
There's
more
not.
than ever, it's imperative that a dancer has many tools.
Yes.
It's imperative that we teach them at a very young age. You don't have to sing like Beyonce, but you should
Have to
have it.
sing.
You should be able to sing.
Yes.
You should be able to tap. You should be able to do many, many, many different things, because when you get to that audition and there's 25 of you that are dancing the same at that audition and someone says, "What else do you do?" The one that can do that will get the job.
Yeah.
And those 24 of you will go home
Yeah.
and maybe go to that class,
Yeah.
that Instagram class that night, and that other person's earning money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but this isn't getting taught enough. There are schools that are only teaching jazz and lyrical, which
Yes.
they like to pretend that they're
A lot.
separate things, but it's lyrical jazz. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's to a pop song,
Yeah.
and they're doing it. It's commercial jazz in a slow form, and just teaching that, and it's just baffling to me because maybe that could have been, there was no schools that only did that back
No.
when there was a possibility of
Yeah.
only being that dancer. Now, when I went to full-time in Melbourne in 1992, there were 2 full-time courses in the country. Dance Factory and Bartuccio's.
Bartuccio's.
Dance World was about to start, or
Yeah.
maybe it was just starting, but there was Tony Bartuccio's and Dance Factory.
Yeah.
In my graduating class, there were 15 dancers, and possibly at the other place too.
Yeah. Around the same.
Around the same, 15, 20 maybe. In the country,
Yeah. Wow.
who went out because
To the
it was new then. Now, we couldn't even sit here in the time we have and name every single
Full-time course.
what they offer, how many kids are in the course. It's hundreds and hundreds
Yeah.
that are going out every year. The ones that are going to work are the ones that have the most tools.
Definitely.
Because, number one, the best dancers, are actors.
Yes.
If you've never done an acting class, well, you're just doing steps. And it's too late when you get to full-time to start that anyway.
Yeah.
So this has to start young. These dance schools need to know. I mean, kids coming to full-time and saying, "I've never done a song and dance, and I started dancing when I was 4,
Yeah.
and they haven't gone to a ballet school," I'm baffled.
Yes. But you know what? Cameron, I should have mentioned this before, but if you don't know, Cameron is probably the person that I had the most as a teacher growing up, as a dance teacher.
Don't make me
And
cry.
it's so interesting hearing everything you're saying, and I know you've taught me all these things, but it's the things that I push the most with my teaching now. If you teach kids something, they will teach their students. It'll stay with them. It'll stick with them. But people either don't care or they're not focusing on this. And I have people messaging me all the time going, "Your students look just like you." it does trickle down. People don't realize what you teach your students is going to stay with them for life, and it's going to go through the people they teach and the people they teach. It's really important.
Well, I think it's that thing we were talking about for the whole time. It's the nurturing thing that we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it keeps coming back to the same thing, no matter what topic we're on here. It's taking the time to nurture.
Yeah, and it does take time. It's
Yeah.
not, it is actually
It takes
a skill.
persistence and
It's a skill, and you've got to devote the time to it instead of just running in, teaching the steps and running out.
Yeah.
That's not actually
And
teaching.
students, when you do take that time, it happened to me. My dance teacher, Barbara Ford in Adelaide, I'm from Adelaide,
Yeah.
and she is still my warrior.
Yeah.
You know, I adore her. You've got your kids, you've reeled off some names there before. You were saying about your loyalty to your school,
Yeah.
but that comes from the nurturing.
yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
and the loyalty, and what you just said then about stuff that I instilled in you, you're doing that with your kids, and that keeping up with the Joneses thing before. The ones that stay will flourish. The ones that just want to do that other stuff, they were going to leave anyway.
Yeah.
Don't be too scared as teachers, and if you are passionate and you are giving them the reasons, you can't just say you have to do singing.
Yeah.
No.
You have to
Yeah.
do tap. You have to do ballet.
Because
Because this is why. Come and watch this video.
Yeah.
Tell them the story. That's why I tell the story of these kids that they really want to be like. This is why they're that good, because they did all this.
Yes.
Don't just say you got to do it, and you come on a Friday and you do this, this, and this, and da da da, and go back to computer
Or else.
and in the go. You've got to get in hands on. And I know it's really hard for some teachers, some studio owners, because it's running a business is hard.
Yeah.
It is really hard.
Yeah.
But it starts at the top, and the person at the top needs to be in the soil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they feel it. The head, that makes it
Yeah.
the family thing, and loyalty comes from that.
Yeah, and
Totally.
it does take time and effort, but you're rewarded tenfold because you're rewarded with happy faces and with people that will stick by you and will sing your praises
Yeah.
and will
Forever. That's your reputation.
forever.
Well, you
yeah.
are so many people's goddess too, like I
So
just said
many.
about Barbie.
Even those that didn't grow up with you.
You know, Miss Glenda, they still call you Miss Glenda.
They do.
You know, and it's the same with my they say Miss Barbie.
that respect.
And I'm like, and if she will ring me, she'll go, "Hey Cameron, it's Miss Barbie," and I'll laugh. You know, it's so funny because that's what that is loyalty and that is respect.
Definitely.
Respect.
And you have to earn respect.
Yeah,
And there's not a lot of respect in this world anymore.
in everything.
No, in the whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And it's sad.
Yeah.
You know, but you're saying as well, leaving us. Sorry, I cut you off
No, you're right.
because I do that. I'll try and be quick. That when I only teach a few days a week now,
Yeah.
and I still teach the younger kids musical theatre at Brent Street, and Wednesday night's my night, and I finish at 8, and I might start with the full timers in the morning, and I'm there all day, and it's really late, and I skip out of there. 46-year-old man skipping out of there. I'm sure there's a lot of people looking at me, but I'm so happy because I watched them grow and I watched them get better. Last night they were doing a combination, and I just turned to the person I was with and I went, "Oh my God, look at them!" Like it's so
Exciting.
invigorating.
Yeah.
But you then have to tell them that.
Yes.
Yeah, you
yes.
do.
Yes, that's
And
so
tell them
true.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Remember when you arrived here? Some kids as well, when they were mousy when they came, and I watched them, and in front of the other kids,
Yes.
they might be hiding in the back, and I'll push part the sea and say, "Remember when you came?
Yes.
Look how far you've come."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember
And
you doing that with me. I remember that.
That stays with that kid for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Ever, yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say, and I live by this, I always grew up going, if dancing's not for me, I'll move on and do something else. But I know that what I learnt in dancing will get me to do anything else I want to do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I always
when
say,
you finish, yes.
I always say, like, if you don't want to dance, like I tell this to, mostly open age, because under that age, they kind of just like, they look at me like, yeah, whatever. But from open age into the full-timers, I say, if you don't want to dance, that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Even actually younger age groups. Actually, if I notice that they're coming back week after week and they don't want to be there, it's like, it's okay if you don't want to dance. But just know that what you are learning in these times everything that is put into this class from myself, I can't talk for others, but from myself, you can use elsewhere.
Yes.
And I've had ex-students, and I'm only young, I have ex-students message me, say, hey, Miss Lauren, just want to let you know this is what I'm up to. And they're in the industry somehow, or they're not in the industry, but they said, this is what you got me to do. Like,
This
because
helped
of what you said to me in those contemporary classes, I can now hold myself in a meeting
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they just know, like,
Yeah.
That's that whole thing about you with the it's okay.
it's okay.
The kids need to know, because we're all still there together
Yeah.
for many years, and
Yeah.
you know, it might be July and they've decided they're not going to go on to full time, or they're going to go, or if they're in full time and they're going to go, it's like, but we're here together now.
Yes.
And we don't think you should. We don't think any less of you because you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
The only time I feel less of anything, and then it was someone gives up.
Yeah.
Before,
Before
Yeah.
trying, yeah.
I just want to say with that, it comes back to working in a group and teamwork.
Yeah.
Because you think of any occupation, job where you don't have to work as part of a team.
Yes. that's-
Teamwork and learning the
Especially these days.
yes, like it's the most fundamental thing that we can teach kids is how to be a good team player.
Yeah.
Because whether you dance or not, whether you're in the corporate world or you're working at Big W stacking shelves, doesn't matter.
You're on a team.
You have to know how to be a team player.
and that's the camaraderie.
Camaraderie,
And
yeah.
I know that I can tell that if I'm teaching class and Lauren comes in and waves and they like that, because you know what? I want to be part of that too. I want to be part of that team.
Yeah.
I actually, in
Yeah.
full time, Gracie Stewart walked in and started watching us, and she sat with you, and I don't know who I turned to, but I said, I want to be that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why years later she can walk back into the studio that she did full time in and still be like, and still respect you and still come in and look at everything that you're doing, and I said I want to do that.
There's nothing
That's- I
better
wanna-
than if I do an open class, and of course there's a lot of current ones that want to come and do it, but Lauren, Mitchell Woodcock, Ryan Gonzalez, you know, they come into my class, you know, Mitchell Woodcock, who's arguably, well, not even arguably, the hardest working choreographer in the country at the moment,
Yeah.
in all fields. You know, I put on open class when we could have lots of numbers, and there's like 50 plus people in the class, and I start the warm up, and then all of a sudden, towering over everybody in the back line
Here he comes.
is Mitchell, because he still feels the need to learn. But that loyalty of those students that we instilled in them.
Yeah.
They come. You remember that day? Lauren just got back from England. And I didn't even know she was back. And my class, she's running into my class, and I'm like, and the other kids see that, and they go, oh my God, I want to be part of that. It makes that feeling of community, as we began this whole thing. You said that, I want to be part of that, not this separate thing. It's got to be, we're all in this. We get you train, then I become part of the club.
Yeah, and that
totally.
makes you happy. And at the end of the day, we all just want to be happy, don't we?
Yeah.
And I think it's
do.
something to.
Yeah.
I think it's something to belong to.
Yeah.
Like I know that I belong to our dance industry.
Yeah.
In no matter what kind of
Where you end up.
where I end up, and if I don't end up working, continuing to work in our industry, I know that I belong to it at a certain point. I think these days it's hard for people to feel like that, because social media takes that away, because you belong to your profile.
Yeah.
You belong to the people that you follow, like you
And
belong
that's all
to
smoke
that.
and mirrors anyway.
Yeah, and that's what it is.
Anybody can make themselves look fabulous.
Amazing.
Nowadays. Remember back in the day, it cost a fortune to hire the video camera, get the lighting come. It was a fortune.
Yeah.
So
And when someone did it was like,
the
wow.
only people that could do it were the people that were already successful, because they had the money to afford it. Now, I mean, I know it's terrible, and you know, on social media myself, and I have to like talk to myself from posting anything anymore, because I can get into trouble. I can get into trouble, you know, and it's not right for me to do. But I did post something the other day that said, you know, people talk about, do you remember life before social media? And I said, well, I remember life before Average had a platform. And it wasn't talking about anyone in particular.
No.
What I meant was that anybody can make themselves look better than anybody else because it's all in their palm.
Which is the appeal.
And I'll do that filter and we'll put up that light and we'll do all this and it'll look spectacular.
Yeah.
And then kids will just show their parents, look how good that is. Oh, well, we'll take you there. It's so...
And that's where a lot of the pressure comes for dance mums and dance dads, dance parents, and for studio owners to, oh, they're doing that. Oh, they're putting up kids doing that trick. We've got to get our kids doing that trick. Oh, they won that comp. We've got to get our kids to win a comp so we can put that up. So much pressure comes from that.
It's really tough.
I remember a time that you guys stopped doing as many comps or stopped doing comps altogether.
Yeah.
Was that a hard decision? And
No.
Did that affect your numbers in any way?
No, not at all.
How can you
That's
convince?
amazing. That's the best bit.
That's a great thing to
No.
point out, right? Like,
yeah, but that was at a time when I had a lot more performance gigs.
Right.
So
Sure.
we had a lot of other things that we could do.
Sure.
You know, we had that, like Australia's Wonderland was there. My kids did the entertainment. We had Nesquik shows
Yeah.
touring the country and shopping set. Like we just had so much modelling parades.
But I even also
We had
remember
so
back in
much stuff.
the 90s, you, even if you did a Stedford's, you do a couple of local ones, but if you did the
Yeah.
major one, you just do a few things just to sort of put your hat in the ring, say we're here.
Yeah.
And you did all very well too. Remember that Michael Jackson fabulous one with the sequins? Mandy Liddell was there and everyone.
So that was like my first really successful senior group, and Jade Barnes was in it, who of course is
Was
my
she?
friend and
Oh, wow.
my business partner today. We
Megan.
already said
What was her name?
dance.
Megan.
Yeah, Megan, the acrobat. Yeah. So many. You know that all those or most of those girls are still best mates today.
Wow.
And they're in their early 40s. I don't think they'd mind me saying that. But I distinctly remember because all my world was jazz, tap, and ballet and musical theatre.
Yeah.
That was it. And I remember them one day coming to me because Mandy Liddell, Jessica, Rebecca Robinson, they were all at Newtown Performing Arts, and they came to me one day. There was only like 16 in the class and said, we want to do a contemporary routine. And I was like, cool, what's contemporary? So we sat, we researched it, and I said, right, you guys have the opportunity now. You can choreograph your own, design the costume, and we did it
That's
as
a
a
team.
process.
Yep.
They were an incredible group of seniors. Honestly, they were able to win everything, but they had the most enthusiasm, the most enjoyment out of performing, and you lose it along the way. You know, you lose that.
And it is lost. I mean,
might just-
Sad.
Pause for a moment.
See, we could talk all day.
Yeah.
But that's an example
But I remember
of the
that
process.
day. So I
you know?
remember things like that, but I remember
Yeah.
that so distinctly, and that sense of that group, team,
Camaraderie.
school spirit
Yeah.
was very evident back then.
Yeah,
and,
you
could
and
see
you
it.
saying that kids
Really
won't leave. Today, I've got friends that have smaller schools, and just recently they've been saying to me, Cameron, what do I do? How do I? My child or my student is 7, and I taught her this really fun thing. We had the desk, and she was doing that, and it was cute, and she was doing all that, but she's not winning because these kids are coming on and grabbing their legs by their ears and doing a thing, and I said,
Who cares?
well, at the end of the day, you're instilling in that child what they need to learn, because that performance aspect, it's too late when they get to 15, 16 and they don't know how to perform. So you're teaching them that, and then teach them how to hold their leg up by their ear as they go on.
Yes.
And you're doing that kid the right thing. And I think it's also a message to adjudicators.
Totally.
And to people these young adjudicators now, because they also get these same young kids to adjudicate, because then it entices people to go to
to
their
do the
Stedford, because there's 350 Stedfords now, that it's important to the adjudicator to look at these processes. What is that kid getting? That kid that's doing that teacher's pet dance or whatever, I'm spitballing, I don't know, that's important, and that is age appropriate and body appropriate and physical appropriate, not and it's so that kid should be the one winning. Yeah, that kid can do all those other stuff, but it's damaging, and you need to write that in your report and send it, because you know more than the parent that is making that teacher give that child that solo. You trained as a dancer, you know it. It's
You're
like
right.
I don't go into a cake shop and ask them how to tell them how to bake me my cake.
Totally.
I know that they know what they're doing. So we need to...
Give validation to the kid that's the performer.
Yeah.
Just
and the
on
teacher that's teaching the kid that.
Yeah.
Just on like the fear of losing pupils. There was a time that I had kids in 2 or 3 musicals in a row. There was Wizard of Oz, Oliver, and
Annie.
And so I had 4 or 5 kids in those, and I lost those kids after that because they were mixing with other kids.
Okay.
And it was like, no, we're going to go here. And also they'd missed 18 months or something of dance. And when they come back, they've missed so much. It's very hard to go back to the beginning and start again because they've missed out. Anyway. And the first time that happened to me, I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
I was gutted. I thought, but I trained them. Where's the loyalty? And you think that it's all over for you.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's a good thing. It can be a really good thing to lose kids because, number one, it gives other kids a chance to shine and to show their true colours. And number two, if they're not going to be happy with you, they're going to be a bad apple in the class, and it's not worth it. And they're better off going for everybody's sake. So I think you've just, as teachers, if somebody wants to go, they need to go.
Definitely.
I mean, I guess we should also talk about the elephant in the room about this. There's some unethical teachers that will actually go out and tell kids, you have to come to me because I will give you this, 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 and this. And that's...
I'll make you a star.
And you know what? If they want to come to you, they'll come to you. Let your work speak for itself. Don't go up and start telling parents that you're going to offer this, 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 and this, because that might be true, but show it through the work. Don't
I wonder how many are on full scholarships these days.
or there's so much. I can't
Stop Cameron there.
I can't.
Stop Cameron there.
It's
but
like,
very true.
But you know, and I think that in itself too. I mean, I mean, look, if they're going to leave, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And you can't force them to stay. And I used to think that
you don't
too.
want them to stay.
I remember once I begged, I was so much I put into a child, and I was begging the mother. And they left, and what was unfortunate for those kids is they usually went and then quit because
Nothing
their loyalty,
happens of them.
they're not only
That's
not loyal to
right.
you, they're not loyal to the art
person.
form either.
And nothing happens for them.
I think that's a really important topic for parents out there. It's so easy to see what that other place is offering, or that person did
grass
this,
is
or that
always greener.
The grass is always
Yeah.
greener. But it is so much about a lot of the key themes that we're bringing up, which is you grow with your team together.
Yeah.
You grow with that, growth that your teacher wants to give you. Learning something when you're in juniors, learning something else when you're in preteens. If you look at what is happening in that moment, it's never going to be a reflection of where you're going to end up when you leave that studio. If you have that trust and loyalty to your studio and to your teachers, and they've got that passion and that drive to offer that to the students, then just trust it and just keep following the path.
I said to some students last year, and I said, what's cool is now, but fabulous is forever. And classic is forever, because that's another thing when you get older. I can list a bunch of people that were the current teacher of the now. And then in 2 years, there's another teacher that's the now, and they're forgotten. But if you manage to stand the test of time, what an achievement. And I feel like that's my greatest achievement at the moment, 46 years old and still doing what I've always wanted to do in my life, and how lucky I am. But I think that comes from the values that my teachers put in me and that I listened to, and I carried them on, and I'm passing that on. I think that it all comes back to the way I was taught and how I listened. And that's what we have to instill in these kids. This is why. Look at these people. I use Lauren as an example, I use Mitchell Woodcock as an example. There's students, James Maxwell, going back all the way, yourself, BJ, so many of my students over the years that are still doing it, and we're friends. And we're part of the club. We go back to that. And that's from that, I love that fabulous is forever, but cool is just the now. And that goes back to those old adages of the kids in high school. The geeks are the ones that are achieving everything now, and the cool ones, where are they?
Yeah.
So
I think also, kids go to dancing for lots of different reasons.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is to have fun.
Yeah.
And to
Yes.
feel that they want to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And we should, teachers, we should not lose sight of that.
That's true.
It has to be an enjoyable place, a place where you can achieve, but have fun.
I think that's something that Cameron brought up before that made me think a lot. I think for a lot of years I thought my job was to make them better, tell them the things they need to fix, and then try to keep improving the students. And it is, but if you don't give them that element of, you're doing a great job.
Yes.
You've nailed that.
Yes.
Like, let's have a bit of fun for the last 5 minutes.
Yes.
Let's like, if you're not adding those elements into your class, it becomes this thing where it's just about being better all the time, and they're never feeling proud of themselves. They're never feeling thankful for what they've done so far.
Yeah.
It is so important, making them enjoy it.
Like
They have to
Lauren's
enjoy
saying,
it.
she can walk, and you said you can be teaching for hours and walk out of there and go, that was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
Well, the kids need to feel that
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got reminded just at the start of, like, a few weeks ago, start of the holidays, it was a few weeks ago, a friend of mine, I have a lot of what we call normal friends now, because my fiance is a school teacher.
Non-dance?
Non-dance friends.
Dances are they're not normal.
And they're always so interested in what I call my career and the fact that I can buy a car and have a house that I own and in our career.
Yeah.
And they're always wanting to learn. And I have a friend that works at a local aquatic centre. He's got to do with the school programs. And he called me and said, I want you to come in and run a day. And I said, okay, yeah, I'd love to. And with the process of planning it, he kept saying, you've run a lot of days. Like, just do it yourself. Yeah. And I said, if I do it the way that I know, the way that a dancer would do it, you'd have no like kids that would come to want to learn. Because I think competition and hard work, it gets thrown into us as a kid that, like, dancing is hard and you need to, like, the passion isn't there as much as, like, you need to get that trick and you can hurt yourself to get that trick, and I went to the day and I took on what he was as a non-dancer, and I had the best day. No one was above the age of 11, and I haven't taught, like, juniors under the age of 11 for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun doing, like, just the easiest choreography, but they were so happy. So
they're
happy.
enjoying it so much more.
And I said at the end,
Holly Wolly Doodle all the day.
Animal crackers.
Animal crackers. There's nothing cuter remember when I know, because you had these kids too that did it, and I remember back when Daniel Lasetta was a little kid, and they would always have the hair curled, but they would turn around and kids going boom, 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 and they loved doing that, and it instilled that passion and fire in them. But now I'm not seeing that so much in a lot of these schools. It's kids grabbing their leg from the side
and not smiling, the fear in their eyeballs instead of their happiness.
having a good time.
What happened to that?
And it's the emotion that kids find the hardest to do. You tell them to be angry or to be a monster or something, and they find it so easy, and you make them just act like they're at a party and have fun, and they, like, really struggle.
Totally. I said to the
That's
full-timers
because they put their Instagram face on.
I said to the full-timers yesterday, I changed up the music in this exercise, and I said, what do you think I'm going to say now? No one had any idea. We're not focused enough. We're not doing this. I was like, no one's having any fun. I said, well, no one will be surprised with this. It was a Kylie Minogue song. It was exciting. It was happy and fun. And everyone was I said, you have to feel the music. Everyone's doing everything the way they think they should be doing something, as opposed to just doing it.
Every technique class I teach, I do my jazz, my tap progressions. I do my kick progressions, and then at the end of that, I say, okay, your own kick combo. It only has to include it, and I always just add one thing that they need to include in it. Every single time, no matter how many times I've retaught the same class, they don't listen to the music. And I always use different music. I don't use the same music. I use a similar range of music, but every single time, and I stop the music and I say, what am I going to say? What is always there to help you get through that combination? and they still
Sure,
have to go all these options and then go the music. I'm like, if you go down and do the one kick that is required, but yet you match the music that I've given you, I am going to love that, and I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to be taken somewhere with it. If you go down and kick your leg and go upside down and then go into a turn to kick your leg, and then I've seen it. I don't feel anything.
My new job is Ready Set Dance
Yeah.
and Kid Crew and auditioning kids for TV, and we can get the most incredible kids from about 11 through to 16. And the moment, though, that we say, all right, now it's time, let us see what you can do. Here's the music, off you go.
Nah, because they have to be told what to do. But this is even
That's
this
the
what we're
teacher's
doing
role.
here.
Yeah.
What we're doing
Teacher's role.
here today.
Yeah.
I don't want any teacher to use this as a handbook onto what we should say. So something that Lauren said, or I said, or Glenda said, or you said, it shouldn't be, oh, right, well, you have to do, right, because that's the same thing.
Exactly.
Dance is an art form, so it
Yeah.
comes from within, and it's evoking emotion and it's feeling.
Yep.
So you need to start there
Yeah.
as a teacher, as a mentor, as a dancer, as an actor, as a singer.
Yes.
It cannot be the
what
10
they
tips,
do.
the 10 ways Lauren Seymour said I should
Yeah.
teach, the 10 ways Cameron did, the 10 ways Glenda did. It has to be. It
What are
comes
my
from
10
you.
ways?
And I say that as I
So true.
teach. Don't do this the way I'm doing it. I said most of my steps are made up walking through the park in my head or while I'm swimming. It's because I have an underwater iPod, so I hear the music as I'm swimming. And the steps are coming to me as I'm doing the strokes. So it's the music telling me how to do the steps. It's not watching myself.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm tutting, but so not me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It's because dancing it's an art, so it has to come from your soul and your emotion. So should teaching.
And so should choreography for teachers.
Well, that's the intention of that. Yeah.
They see what is pulling in numbers in an open class, or they see what is getting hired or getting the most likes on a video, and they're like, oh, that's the style I have to do.
That's the lyrical jazz disease.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think
Everyone's doing the same
the
steps.
interesting thing I always say is like, look at that choreographer or that teacher that you really idolize and you look up to. They've got that certain style that makes them special. You look up to them because they did something different to everyone else. So it's completely the opposite what you're doing.
Or they
trying to
connected
emulate
with
that.
you.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
connected. That you've
Yeah.
connected with that because it's something unique. So
Yeah, I feel
be
like,
unique. Be yourself.
Yeah, I feel like, it's not the steps that are the important thing, but
the
it's
execution.
the execution and the connection and the feeling behind it and the reason why you're doing it, and that's where you get the best results.
Yeah.
Totally. Because that you can. Everyone forgets that beyond your training and beyond the competitions and beyond the classroom, we all want to be on a stage.
Yeah.
So who are we actually doing it for? The people that are in the audience. And 75 to 80% of that audience are non-dancer actors or singers.
Yes.
So they feel how you are feeling.
Yes.
They can. That's what's most important.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something serious and tense and just doing it one way, they're feeling tense.
Yep.
If you're evoking an emotion, they feel it, and you're like that. All that stuff, and it comes back to what I was saying about the best dancers are actors.
Yes.
Because it's all one. It's all in one.
Yeah.
And
if everyone's dancing the same way, the audience is going, just pigeonholing dance as this one thing
Yeah.
that is not connecting to them in any way. They don't get what that is. They get happiness. They get, the emotions that dance used to be about a lot more than they are today, I think.
When I stopped teaching, Joe would still call me in to have a look at, a routine or a combo or something and say, what do you think? And I always judged it by what I felt.
Yes.
I always said to the kids, I don't feel anything. You haven't reached me. I'm bored. I want to look away.
Yeah.
How are you going to get me to just focus on you?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
But
I think it comes the whole we keep coming back to the same
We do.
thing.
Key topic.
Sorry,
That it's
guys.
passion. No, but it is, and I think it's important and it's great because it's passion and it's explanation, and it's bringing it out of, you know,
Hearing
we are
music.
passionate, four passionate people sitting here, and we're bringing it out of each other.
Yeah.
We keep bouncing off each other's
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to all be about. And run your school and your class and your rehearsal room with that same thing. Let's
That same
work
passion.
together and feel together and create together.
Together, yeah.
And
Your passion creates their passion.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And instill these what is it? Instill in
Values?
Values, yeah.
in these kids and watch them grow. It's like, I keep coming back to gardening. It's like getting your hands in the dirt and then watching that plant grow and
And
flower.
making them feel important and valued,
For what they're
and
doing.
give them a little voice as well.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of. I mean, I've done a lot. I mean, my career, I began as a teacher, and then I I began as a student, and then I was a performer, and then I went into full-time teaching and running Brent Street, and then I went back into the theatre and choreographing world. So I've gone like that, but I'm so proud of the students that I taught, and I'm so proud that I had worked with them, and I watched them, and I go, I just feel the joy that I feel like we did it together.
Yeah.
As I felt from my teacher and my mentors. They had so much to do with where I am now, and I will always acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And I think that you instill that in your students, and they take that on too. You know, so you know, you look back, you just reeled off those kids. I sparked that memory in your head, and you
Yeah.
came to life.
I actually was just thinking, Matt Antonucci, Stephen Perez used to always say, and lots of others, that when I'd walk in the room to have a look at whatever was going on, they said as soon as my feet turned parallel, they knew, she's not happy.
they know everything about you.
When my feet were turned out, good,
She's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right.
And I
Like
think,
down to
I
business
love
when you're in
boys.
parallel.
well, I think we'll leave it there. We could go on forever. I
Forever.
can tell. But you know, it's so nice to hear the common thing. You know, talking about passion, talking about performance, talking about music, talking about happiness and camaraderie and teamwork. Communication.
Yeah.
They're such important things, and we have kept bringing them up because they are the most important thing. And I think, you know, like you said before, yes, they are lacking in a lot of people these days, but it does exist. And I think it's praising the teachers that are doing it, encouraging new teachers to do things the same way, and helping them on their journey.
And
There are a lot of great teachers out there.
Yeah.
There are
There
so
are.
many.
And I think, well, I just want to say to everybody one more time, it's okay to take your time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
okay
don't be in
to
a hurry.
don't rush it. You've got the rest of your lives to do, but you know, I just wish everybody the best, and hopefully we can work together, all and even into school stuff that we're not actually together. The different teachers at the different schools, but if we all have the same focus, we are working together for the future of this industry
And value the same things.
And also, like, teachers should be able to feel that they can communicate with other teachers as well, or
definitely.
owners with other owners, share experiences,
We're all on the
reach
journey
out.
together.
Everybody's there together now. Yeah,
Absolutely.
especially in these times.
it's important.
really important. Yeah.
Well, we're all here, and we're happy to connect
We are.
with all of you. I mean, you
Thank
guys
you.
all jumped on, and as soon as I asked you, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
again.
for asking.
It's
Yeah.
just the perfect first episode, and amazing guest, and I've had a great time chatting to you guys. Thank
Thanks,
you so
BJ.
much.
Thanks, BJ.
Yeah,
we'll
lovely to
see
see
you-
you guys too. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon on the next episode. Thanks so much for watching.